Zero to $200,000 by age 25. And here's the kicker: I worked at a convenience store. This is the story of my life, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys today. I'm going to take you through the 10 steps I took to get there. And it's a story I'm very proud of because I think the reason I'm most proud of it because it's a story that's actually practical, that actually people watching this right now can possibly achieve. So many times I see on TV or online and whatnot, I see, Snapchat CEO, $3 billion net worth at age 25, Zuckerberg worth $50 billion at age 30. I see these stories. They're not practical. I mean, unless you win that lucky lottery ticket, unless you happen to start that perfect company, the chances you're going to have a billion net worth is very low. However, what I did from the ages of 19 to the age of 25, going from $0 to $200,000, that is actually achievable. That's actually practical, that people watching this can actually pull off, guys. So I think that's the reason I want to share this story so much. And it's kind of like the backdrop of what the book's about that's coming out, in the month of April. I'm going to launch it. The book's actually about the tactics and all the things I look into investments that got me that $200,000 number. But this story today is not told in the book. This is actually the story on how I achieved it. So I hope you guys enjoy this today. And you know what? Let's just get right into it. So number one step I used to get to where I was at that point is I learned everything I possibly could about investing from age 18 to age 20. And I mean, I've never stopped learning since I was age 20. So I mean, it's just I really got into it from age 18 to age 20. And that is the age that things really started coming to me, and my mind was just so open. I was learning so much information. It was on a whole other level. I mean, I was going to college at that point, so I was learning about business. I was learning about accounting, which accounting is very important to learn as far as if you're looking into income statements, balance sheets, cash flows, all those type of financial metrics, gross margins, everything like that. Very important. So I was learning all that information. And I was researching everything I possibly could about many different investors, but one specific was Warren Buffett. I watched every single YouTube video in creation of Warren Buffett at that time. It was ridiculous. I would watch any past interview with him, any speech he gave, anything Warren Buffett, I wanted to learn it. So that is just what I was doing. That was step number one, and that was a huge part. If that step never happened, the whole $0 to $200,000 by 25, that would have never ever happened, guys. Step number two, I learned everything I could about retail management from age 18 to age 20. Reason being is I learned that if you want to make money really young at that really young age, you're going to have to be, the only way you can do it possibly really is retail management, unless you start a business or something like that, which I wasn't ready to do at that point. I wasn't ready to do that till last year when I was 26 years old to get businesses started. So I was not ready to start a business, especially successfully, especially the fact that was during the recession. It was even more of a hard thing to do at that time. So I learned that, my brother, he was working at a small restaurant. He was making pretty good money as a very young person. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to make some money young, I need to either be a retail manager or a restaurant manager or something like that, because those companies will hire in young people. And you can actually make a decent salary, more than what most people are making at that age. So I focused my attention on that. Step number three, I opened up a brokerage when I was 19 years old, and I actually started investing. That's when I actually started investing, when I was 19 years old. And mind you, this was a very weird time to start investing. This was in 2009 when I was 19 years old. This was in the depths of the recession. The stock market was in a crash. It was crashing every single day. The best analogy I can maybe come up with in my head is, picture you're on a beach. You're on a beach, right? You're enjoying your day. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a hurricane comes. And the storm is just horrible. The waves are crashing, and all the surfers, everybody's off the beach, and then the surfers are starting to get out, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. The hurricane, it's going to kill us all. We're all getting out of the ocean. And there I come on the beach. I'm like, dude, let's go surf. And everybody's like, no, hell no, dude. You're going to freaking die out there in that ocean. You go out there right now. I'm like, No, no, no. This is when the fun's about to start. And I'm the only one walking toward the waves, and everybody else is running as fast as they can from that beach because it's like a freaking death trap. That is the analogy I could best give for you guys, because that's what it was like. No one wanted to be in the stock market. Anybody that had anything to say about the stock market, it was negative. Don't look into the stock market. Don't invest in the stock market. People would tell me literally, I cannot tell you how many people said this quote: "It's the worst time ever to be going into the stock market." It was the best time ever to be going in the stock market. Holy smokes, it was the best time. I just wish I knew a lot more back then, and I wish I had a lot more damn money back then, because I would have made a ridiculous killing during that time, 2009, 2010. Oh my goodness. Step number 4. I only had little bits of money, hundreds of dollars at a time to invest. I think my first major investment was like $327. I believe that was literally a specific amount. And I would only invest in blue chip stocks, which is actually a really good thing if you're a beginner in the stock market, because blue chip stocks are mainly stocks that are more known about. You know, I'm talking about some of the biggest companies in the world, like an Apple, like a Microsoft, like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble. Some of these huge corporations that are just monsters and are relatively safe companies that aren't going anywhere. So you know the company pretty well just because you probably use their products or services, right? So you have an easier time understanding that business model. And then it's generally a safer company. So the chances one of those stocks is going to go down 40% or 50% or something, you're going to lose your ass, very slim, very slim. So I think that's a good idea for everybody to start off with blue chip stocks when you're getting into the stock market, because if you go into some of the riskier stuff, you can get killed out there. And when you're a beginner, you get killed, you're probably going to leave immediately. So remember that. Number 5, I got my first good job at this point. I was working as a night manager. It was right before my 21st birthday I got the job, like a couple weeks before my 21st birthday. Got a job working as a night manager for a company named QuikTrip. They were paying pretty good. I mean, they started me out about $40,000 a year, which was a really good wage at that time, especially considering when I was 21 years old, it was like 2010-ish, maybe almost going into 2011 at that point, which the economy was still horrible. It was really hard to get a good job anywhere. The fact that I was able to pull off and get a good job like that I had no retail management experience at that time. So even though it was only like a night job they hired me, it was still a start, guys, and it was still a really good wage for me to be making at that time. Step number 6, I started to invest at this point, not just in blue chip stocks, I began to start investing in any stock. So it opened up my entire possibilities of investments, because when you only invest in blue chips, when you only invest in companies that are in the Dow 30, the amount of companies you can invest in, very slim, very slim. What this did for me is I had enough experience now at this point where I could actually invest in other stocks, but it gave me so many more possibilities, so many more stocks that were way undervalued compared to the ones I was investing in at that time. So that was a big thing there. Number 7, I moved out of my parents' house the summer when I was 21 years old. So about 7 months after I'd started working at QuikTrip, I just saved money. I think I had a little over $7,000 saved at that point. I believe it was around $7,000. And so that was enough to get me out of my parents' house, buy me some furniture from Walmart and stuff. I got a 1-bedroom apartment. I bought stuff from IKEA, bought stuff from Walmart, like cheap furniture. Like all my furniture and everything added up in my apartment was probably like maybe $1,000, maybe $1,200 or something like that. I was living cheap. Then number 8, what I was able to do, because I was making really good money from QuikTrip, then I got promoted and I was starting to make like $50,000 a year. What I started doing is I started putting $1,000 to $1,500 per month into the brokerage account. So we're talking about some serious money we're starting to add up in that brokerage account, because that's on a yearly basis, let's say, that's $12,000 to, let's say, $17,000 per year where I was funneling money into that brokerage. I did that for several years. So this will help me build those accounts really fast, and then I was getting great gains on those. So then we go into step number 9, which I had tons of small gains, here and there, stocks that I kind of would get involved with, and then I would kind of sell them off and make a little profit here and there. But I had a few really big gains that stuck out to me that were huge investments of mine and that really pushed me above those levels. One of them was Cabela's. I benefited from that in a great deal because of the 2011 to 2013 gun surge. I mean, holy smokes, the gun numbers just went insane from 2011 to 2013. So I totally benefited from that in a huge way financially, because that was my biggest investment. And if you look at Cabela stock from those years, it was straight up, like a straight line practically. I had benefited from Monster Beverage, was one of my other biggest investments. Monster Beverage, I benefited from the whole energy drink surge, which is like, it was just a huge trend that had been evolving for a long time. Just not everybody paid attention to it. Probably because Red Bull was the main company there, and also because Coca-Cola and Pepsi kind of tried to get in that game and they completely failed that game. So Monster was a public company that wasn't even called Monster Energy. It was called Hansen's Natural Beverage, that was kind of like flying under the radar. And I totally benefited from the whole energy drink surge out there. And then one of the other stocks that I had huge gains on was a company named Cirrus Logic, which I totally benefited from. iPhone being as successful as it was, iPad being as successful as it was. Cirrus Logic began to get Apple as their biggest customer out there. Cirrus Logic was a stock that had been a high flyer from like 2009, 2012, because that's when they got Apple as a customer. Then it went dropped like a rock. And then I started getting involved with it, started playing around with Cirrus Logic, started building a position till it was one of my biggest positions. I believe it was my second biggest position. And then that stock just went off like a rocket around, I think it was around 2014-ish, 2013, 2014. Then it just was like in a straight line because the company just started nailing numbers. They got more content in the iPhones. They got more amplifiers. They started putting smart codecs into the iPhones, which is the ability where you can just say, hey Siri, and then Siri will like talk to you and those kinds of things. So I benefit from that surge. So those are the three main ones that I benefited. All those, my gains were definitely over $10,000 for all of those. Cirrus Logic, Cabela's, and Monster Beverage. And then, like I said, there was a lot of small gains that came and went. So, and then last one, I just want to kind of point this out about the whole story. I participated during this time. I participated in no recession. So obviously, when I got in the market, it was a recession, and then we started to come out, right? So while I was in the market, it was technically not really like we're going into a recession type deal, and it was a bull market for all those years. So I think that's important to come across in the story, because if, say, we went into another bad recession during that time, I doubt I would have built up to $200,000. Say, the stock market went down 30%, 40%. There's no way I would have went to $200,000. So there's a lot of different factors that could have prevented me from getting that $200,000. So I think that's important in saying, and I think a lot of people are just too proud to admit that some things went their way as well. So I did a lot of things right. I worked my ass off to get those gains, but a lot of things went right. I mean, imagine if the gun surge never happened, if unfortunately, things like the Sandy Hook massacre and Obama coming out and being against guns, that forced millions of Americans out there to go get guns because they thought Obama was going to take their guns. If that never happened, I probably don't make nearly as big of a gain on Cabela's. If, let's say, regulations came out that limited maybe energy drinks, I guarantee you my gains would never have been nearly as good in Monster Energy. If Apple would have dropped Cirrus Logic at any point in my investment, the Cirrus Logic would have been, my investment would have been almost worthless overnight, because Cirrus Logic got over 80% of their revenue from Apple. So I think that's important in any story, that you need to work your butt off. You need to do all these things right, but you also cannot have something really negative, really bad luckish go against you, which is absolutely what I've had with GoPro. So maybe I had a lot of good luck all those years. Maybe it's, karma coming back around with the GoPro investment, that they just have done so many things wrong since I got involved with that one in 2016. It's like unbelievable, but at the same time, I avoided so much bad luck all those years, guys. So maybe I had it coming to me. Who knows? So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. This is a story of my life. Well, this is really the story of 19 years old to 25 years old. Obviously, it ends at when I was 25 years old. My new story is my new story, which is more about actually entrepreneurship. It's just still about investing and all those kinds of things, but my new story is more about businesses I've started, things like that, this channel. If you guys know my more new story. But this is my 19 to 25-year-old story. I'm super proud of it, and I think it's actually practical for people watching this to pull off, man. You get a good enough job or start a good enough business, you'd be willing to learn about all these things in investing, and you maybe just don't have any bad luck come against you. you can build up from nothing to $200,000 in a 6-year period, guys. I can almost guarantee you that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this today. If you just came across this video and have not subscribed yet, you may want to. We talk personal finance. We talk entrepreneurship. I'm an actual business owner. I give away so many business tips. We talk the stock market the most of anything. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.